Ooh, it's Friday. We made it.
It's
It's been
Thursday.
a difficult week.
Actually,
Thursday.
Thursday. It's
Is it
my
Thursday?
Friday. It's
This
my
is my
Friday. It's your
Friday.
Thursday.
This is my Friday right here. I've had enough. We had so much to
Oh
happen this
wow.
week. So many things to occur in our community, in our state, in our country. I'm just glad to see both of you here. I am Belinda Gordon Battle. I am one of the co-founders of the Center for Equitable Access and Treatment of Trauma Incorporated. I like to introduce my two amazing co-founders. We are missing one, and we want to send our love to you, Gabby, out there. But please, Delphine, Magda, take a moment to just introduce yourself to our community.
Hello, my name is Delphine, and I am so blessed to be here. Thank you, Belinda, for making this happen per usual. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, been working in the South Florida community for over 20 years.
I love it. 20 years. You look 20, but you're good. You're good. You're holding it down. Thank you so much. Magda, please share who you are with our
Good
community.
morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Dr. Magda Demerit. I am also licensed clinical social worker. I have been in these social work streets for about 15, almost 16 years now. I'm so excited to be here with my co-founders, missing one, to talk about this so very important and present topic that hopefully we can provide some insight and some light and share for our community. So yeah,
Absolutely.
excited.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, I'm excited too. I'm also excited to know that we have partners in our community. Seek Cares is just an opportunity for us to speak directly with the community about current events and how we can manage those current events. But when we reached out and said we need a platform, I was excited to have the opportunity to have Benita Gordon from Gordon Concierge Services to say, I have a platform. Please come on, speak to my educators, speak to my community also as you speak to the community at large. So thank you so much for that, Benita Gordon. This one week right here, we had a shooting in Jacksonville, Florida, that claimed 3 lives. And the shooting occurred in a commonplace at a Dollar General store near at HBCU, an historically Black
Mhm.
college and university, Edward Waters in Jacksonville. The shooter, from what I understand, actually started um, to to try to be on that campus, and that plan was interrupted by a security guard of that campus, someone that
Mm.
cared about the people of that campus, moved that person along, not realizing the amount of danger they were in that moment. So I want us to talk about how that affected us individually, our family members, college, community as a whole. Because in addition to the Jacksonville shooting, that turned around the next day, I believe there was a shooting at another college, University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill,
Jacksonville.
where a
Mhm.
professor, and raise your hand if you have been a professor on a college campus.
Yep. Yep.
That's a trigger of trauma in our community. If you have been a student on a campus, that's a trigger and trauma in our community. So, Delphine, Magda, please share some insight. Talk to us about that trauma, what that means, what that looks like.
So, as you mentioned, the different ways that we're connected to community trauma, my first introduction to Edward Waters was as a school social worker taking college students on a school tour many, many moons ago. And one of the alumni currently lives in Texas. Um, and so I think about I went immediately, my mind's eye went immediately to their chapel building. because that was a centralized location on the campus. I have family members who live in Jacksonville. I have family members that don't live too far away from that community, who work near that community. How many of us are connected to jobs like the Dollar General store? There was a young man of Haitian heritage. I'm Haitian. There were so many connections to what happened, so that although it was thousands of miles away, Belinda, it felt very near and close. How many of us have been on college campuses as former students, HBCU students, PWI students? So I think trauma for us could also be on a vicarious level. So although this thing has imploded in Jacksonville, the ripple effects are being felt throughout the nation. You know, I think about my godson who graduated from North Carolina A&T. So my mind's eye went there. His brother goes to a school nearby. So many connections to just these two events. And when that comes into mind, I'm thinking, what are we doing with all of this, all of these feelings? How are we able to manage those things?
Absolutely.
So
how are we able to manage? Thank you.
Thank you, Delphine. I think about my son who is in the 10th grade, and in a couple of years he'll be leaving home. Now I don't know what his choices are going to be, but either way, in the past few years, the stories of shootings and violence on college campuses, that has, really impacted how I look at what my son is going to be doing in the future, right? Like it's scary. It really is. And then more recently, as I engage in activities with different groups, and I have people like Belinda in my circle, I'm like, maybe it'd be nice if he goes to HBCUs. I don't really hear anything like that happening typically at an HBCU, only to get this news, right? To really remind us that nobody is safe.
No one.
Right? No one is immune. This could happen anywhere. Thank goodness it didn't transpire on the campus, but it could have, right? And so the potential for what could happen, right? We talk about in our schoolings and in our books, they talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they talk about safety being one of the basic things that people really need to be able to get to self-actualization and be able. And when you don't feel safe, how do you effectively learn? How do you engage in academic space and academic rigor, and you don't feel safe? You don't know what can happen, or you're hyper vigilant, right? What we know about mental health issues and mental health challenges is in that window, that 18 to 25-year-old window, our college students. If there's going to be mental health challenges, it's going to show up there, right? Because our students are removing themselves from their normal support systems. They're removing themselves from, all that they know. They're putting themselves in a new environment. And so the opportunity for mental health issues to exacerbate presents itself. So when happening, really impact the individual. And I'm so glad for organizations like CEATT that are here to really provide some support and guidance for individuals experiencing these type of events.
Absolutely. I think back to what you were saying about how that safety net that we felt existed is no longer there. And so it's almost like you're free flowing. Where can I be safe? There was a time where a young man went into one of our amazing churches in Charleston. Where can I be safe? People coming to your home, Breonna Taylor, take you while you were asleep. When can I be safe in America? Those things are so important to us because safety allows us to grow.
Mhm.
Safety provides that foundation for us to continue to grow and manage our lives in a way that we are productive and we are thriving.
Mhm.
Trauma, trauma takes that away from us. Talk
Yes.
to me about some of the feelings that young people, elderly people, anyone can have after watching, observing um, these tragedies, which I hate that word, tragedies in our community.
It's
There. Go ahead, Magda.
I was going to say it's interesting because in our books, right? uh Vicarious trauma that you experience through somebody else's experience, or you observe it, or you personally experience it, can still bring you eligible to experience post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what we know about trauma is a lot of it is happening in the brain, because your brain is telling your body that we need to fight, flight, or freeze. We need to do something. Something is not right. We are not safe. And that in itself is a very normal biological experience that we've needed for many years, centuries, right?
Mhm.
And when trauma comes in the picture, your brain now tells you that you're constantly in this state of needing to be safe. And so you have increased paranoia, you
Mhm.
have anxiety through the roof. Anxiety and depression, they walk hand in hand down the street like two cousins. So you're back and forth between the two. If you already had mental health issues, it can exacerbate those,
Mhm.
like phobias, for example, conduct issues, for example. You become hypervigilant, right? Like you're
Yeah.
constantly looking at your surroundings. You're constantly
Mhm.
wondering, to your point,
Mhm.
Belinda, am I safe here? Is this
Mhm.
safe? My
Mhm.
husband has been, around, experienced gun violence before. The first thing he does when we walk into a restaurant is checks for the doors, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Where are
Yep.
all the
Absolutely.
doors? He knows
Yep.
Right.
where all the doors are. And when
Right.
he sits down, mandatory, he has to face the door.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it
Mhm.
Yep.
doesn't matter what I want to do or what I want to
Right.
sit. If I want to
Yeah.
face the door, it's not happening, because he
Mhm.
needs, that's part of his process to feel safe,
Yeah.
right? Or be in a position to fight if he
Right.
needs to, if something happens, right?
Yes. I love this because what you're doing, Magda, is helping our community become trauma informed.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's giving us more information so that we could function better. Delphine, one of the things I heard Magda say was fight, flight, or freeze. When
Mhm.
we think about those workers in Dollar General, the people that were there just to go pick up something real quick and I'll be right back home. How do we let our community know what fight, flight, or freeze may look like? What does it look like in response to trauma if I have to fight?
And even as you say that, I have to take the deep breath, right? To even prepare to discuss the
Mm,
responses that all of us have had to give at some time or other.
yeah.
You're just in the store, just walking around, complaining about whatever, having a random conversation, thinking, like you said, you're going to be headed back to wherever you came from. And to now engage in a life altering experience,
Mhm, mhm,
something that actually takes the life of others. There are several responses. There's not a right or wrong, there just is.
okay.
You're going to either feel like, I can't move, I don't know where to go, what
Mhm,
is happening to my body? I know I should move, but I
yes.
can't. I'm just going to just stay here in this space.
Mhm,
And then there's the, I gotta like your husband, Magda, I got to find a way to get out of here. I need to get out of here. Whatever happens, I have to find the exit. I have to run. I have to protect myself. Or there is the, okay, what can I do in this moment to defend myself, to defend the lives of others, to support in overtaking? Again, there are no victors, there are no victims, there are no heroes. We are all going to function in how the brain decides we have to, at the end of the day, protect ourselves. That's the goal in all of that. You know, Magda, just this past weekend, I went to a function, or I had thoughts of going to a function. Me being impatient, I saw the lines and I was like, I can't do this. Came back out again. Came back out again. The lines were long, but I observed that there was only one way in and one way out. Yours truly told my husband, I can't. I just can't go into any place that only has one way in and one way out. Back when I was at FIU, hanging out down south, going to the reggae spot down there, Lime Tea, for any of us who are locals, listen. Yes. I was cool with the going into the one way in, one way out local spots. They were the best places. Best places. But all it took was one incident, not even at that location, just one incident that I don't even remember. But again, trauma informed. I'm seeing this thing on the news and I'm like, I'm good. I heard about a shooting the other day that my friends were at this party. Nah, this might not be something I want to do for too much longer. So right then and there, the 18, 19, 20-year-old, now 40-year-old, Gen Xer-year-old is saying, nah, I'm good. I've seen too many things. I've heard of too many things. In these last 3 years alone, that says, I am going to be the one that chooses not to participate. And that's what trauma does. It causes us to now rationalize the way we function in our day-to-day. Who among us now just wants to get up early in the morning and go to the grocery store as soon as it opens, or Instacart, because you just don't want to deal with the unknowns? This boy went to work right out of high school, just went to work like all teenagers, hardworking teenagers want to do, and he did not make it home.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we think about, is that this young man, he went to work, he did not make it home. We do that every day. And that's why you have a definite emotional attachment. Something happens to you when you hear that story on the news. We don't know his name. We know his name, but we don't know this person. But we know that he was just like us. He got up that day, was part of our community. He went to work, and his expectations were to go home to his family at the end of that shift. And that did not happen. So he at that moment is no longer with us. He has a family that has to deal with the outcome of this. He has a community, colleagues, employees in that store, even on that plaza, that strip, because if you work at a store right here, that you have visited the other stores down here.
Work family,
absolutely. People that come in that store day in and day out, they expect to see him. Consistency is important when you are working, and I expect to see you at the same place at the same time. Maybe I can no longer go into that store. Even if they reopen that store, I may not be able to go back into that space. So I hear what you're saying about how important it is to identify these feelings and also allow yourself not to add on to the stress by forcing yourself to go into these spaces. Magda, when we have these feelings, what else can we do? Should we be reaching out to a clinician? What are some things we could do at home? If educators see young people in their space that are having these same feelings, these same moments, can you share a few strategies, interventions that we can implement almost immediately? I'm not sure. Magda, oh, there you are, Magda. You hear us? Can you hear us?
Magda,
So,
are you able to hear us? While she's
oh,
figuring it out, I think I
mm,
could jump in for that.
thank you, Daphne.
So my life doesn't stop because of things
Yeah.
that have happened. It is around identifying my support system. Speaking on the thing that is troublesome to me is the first step, acknowledging that this is a problem for me and deciding who's going to be in my network to support me in that,
Can you
right?
all hear me?
I can. We can. You ready to jump back in? And so, while she's figuring it out,
Thank you.
just making sure that if we're in the school settings, who are our helpers? Mr. Rogers would always say, if there is a tragedy, who are our helpers? In the
Yeah.
school settings, you have your school counselors,
Mhm.
you got your school social workers, ask for them by name. Yes, there are school social workers, there are
Yes.
therapists, there are counselors in the school settings. Parents, if your children went back to school or have returned to school this year and there might have been some traumatic experiences over the summer, please
Mhm.
let the school counselors know. They are not
Yeah.
mind readers. Speaking as someone who worked in the system for 10 years, we would appreciate it if you did come and let us know of the passing of a loved one. If
Mhm.
grandma passed and this was a person that meant so much to your child, we want to be able to know, and we want to be able to support your child, because the grades will tell us sometimes
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
things are not well, or the
Right.
behaviors that may not
Behaviors.
present
Yes.
behaviors. I mean, you
Yes.
can't, if I've lost a loved one, if I've experienced some issues, I need to be able to know that these people in this space are going to support
Yes.
me through that. Magda,
Absolutely.
can you think about some other spaces? And, I was telling Belinda, looking for the helpers, and in education, we look for the counselors. What are
Mhm.
some other things that we could do?
So as I was thinking about the question, and technology does what it does,
For
you know,
haters.
I think there are different levels of things that we can do for ourselves, for the people we care about, right?
Mhm.
On a daily, level, just every day, right?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're taking care of our mental health, reminding ourselves that in this moment that I'm sitting in right now, I'm okay,
Mhm.
right? And I'm safe, right? It's when we get involved with what's going to happen when I go to the store in a minute, or what's going to happen when I go down the street, or what's going to
Mhm.
happen. Just a constant reminder to ourselves that in the moment, I'm okay, right? Healthy routines for ourselves, how we start our days, how we end our days, those things are important. Making sure we're keeping up with our regular routine checkups and physical exams and preventative care. Those things are important because mind, body, spirit, it all connects, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Keeping good friends around, specifically for our students, that using apps. There's so many apps out there now that can provide this level of support if you're trying to practice mindfulness or wellness activities. But if you find yourself in a situation where, the mind is going on overdrive, because the brain's primary job is to keep you alive and keep you
Mhm.
safe. So
Mhm.
it's going to try to identify and look for all the signs, right? We call those triggers, all the things that we need to be aware of so that we can keep you safe. And that's not a problem unless it becomes a problem. So what do I mean by that? When things start to impact our daily functioning, right? Our ability to go to class because we're so afraid that a shooter might show up, Or we don't want to go to the grocery store, even though we know we need to because we have to purchase X, Y, and Z. Or we refuse to hang out with friends. We refuse to be social. We refuse to do anything except sit in our rooms because that's where we feel the safest. Now we know that that is what we call a diagnosable issue, right? That is either acute stress disorder, right, or a post-traumatic stress disorder. And a mental health professional would be able to tell you exactly what it is that you might be experiencing there. And in that regard, those signs and those things can be observed by parents, by teachers, by the professionals that work at the school, residence hall, directors, RAs, resident assistants. These are things that you can see. Once was a student who was active and engaged and involved. Now all of a sudden is withdrawn, doesn't want to engage. At that point, we definitely want to see how we can get a mental health professional involved. What referral can we make? How can we support this individual, right? And it's not a forceful act. People have to be ready. We have to be able to meet them where they are. However, if they're not ready for mental health intervention, be a friend, reach out, connect, check on them. We have to get back to being a community where we have people who check in on each other, and not just the text, but if you can stop by on your way to class, knock on that door, say, hey, you all right? You there today? Even if they yell, right? You know, they're there, you know, everything's okay. You know, in terms of they're well, they're not, you know, done anything severe to themselves. I also encourage everyone to save 988 on their cell phones. That is the Suicide Prevention and Crisis Lifeline. 24/7, there's someone you need to talk to or someone you need to kind of support you. That will be in your phone. It's available. That's 988. Save that. Have it ready. You never know when you need to share it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Delphine and Magda, for sharing those interventions, those strategies to kind of help our community move forward after these shootings in our community from Jacksonville to North Carolina. And there, we have also had local shootings to occur. And we're all based in Miami. And even though this broadcast will be going global, we are based in Miami. So we know that they have had incidents right here in Miami. And we want to make sure we reach everyone that's going through these moments of trauma. When we speak about trauma, I want to make sure our community understands how CEATT is supporting individuals that are going through trauma. Can you speak a little bit about CEATT and what we're doing in this space to make sure that our community is working towards healing?
Yes. So I will speak a little bit about that, and then I know Delphine can probably bring in some other thoughts about it. So we came together and we saw a need to really come together and ensure that our community has access. And when I say our community, I do mean underserved populations. I do mean uninsured or underinsured populations, and that runs the gamut, particularly BIPOC individuals, but that can run the gamut. So we saw a need to make sure that those individuals have access to quality care. And what we mean by quality is sometimes, even when you have insurance, they have guidelines and they're limited, right, to how much time we can spend with a patient, what we can do with a patient. And so CEATT was formed to make sure that whatever the need is, particularly trauma, especially related to gun violence, that we're able to provide treatment that is evidence-based by clinicians who are trained, who know what they're doing, and make sure that we can spend whatever time, an hour and a half, whatever is necessary to make that session count, to make sure that we get you through the process of therapy to help you on your journey of healing. So that is what CEATT is here to do. And I'm so happy and I'm so excited with working with my colleagues, because it's a really big deal. And it's absolutely needed. And
Yes.
again, I'm just so elated. And if anyone would like to join us, join hands with us, partner with us, please visit us on our website, CEATT.org, or you can also donate to our efforts at pay.ceatt.org. We are 501c3 nonprofit. We're not here trying to make money. We're really here trying to provide a quality service. So
Thank you so much for that information, Magda. Delphine, did you want to add anything?
I did. Outside of the fact that I get to collaborate and connect with some really, really cool women who I have had the pleasure of working in different spaces and systems in, we understood that CEATT was going to be a collaboration. And Gabby, we miss you today. A collaboration of different walks of life, different professional outlooks, but the similar mission of serving our community here and beyond, from a micro level in terms of we're doing the one-to-one and the groups, to then community wide and macro and meso, hopefully one day level of making sure that we address trauma, not as just a big word, but making sure that people are more informed of what it is.
Mhm.
What I realize about the community, the underserved, underprivileged, which includes a great deal of BIPOC people groups, is that we don't understand that we've experienced trauma.
Mhm.
We just think it's just life. Life be life. And, you know, we like to say that. Life
You
be
like to say that.
But then when you were telling me life is life and you scored 10 out of 10 out of the ACEs, which is our way of measuring traumatic experiences before you were 18, homelessness, incarceration, substance use, you saw violence happen to you. Your mother went to prison at a certain age. There wasn't certain support systems in your community. That is trauma. That is contributing to trauma. And that's the first layer that we want to make sure that is addressed. Understanding what it is, and now understanding what's happened to you, how it is now impacting the generations in your household, how it is now oozing into your community, and what we can do to create advocacy and policies and partnerships and collaborations. A lot of times we piecemeal in the mental health professional, but this is going to be an amalgamation. Is that a word I can use?
Yes, let's use it.
An amalgamation
yes.
of everything, all the good sauces that come from what we have done as clinicians.
I love it. This is so informative. It's such great information. I'm so excited about CEATT because I really feel like we are going to be able to connect to people in our community. We already are getting amazing support. Like I see Miss McGee is here early and bright with us. This is going to be replayed. We're going to have an opportunity to continue to share this information today. But I just want to really quickly get you and Delphine and you, Magda, to let the community to know, is there healing after trauma, after this tragedy that we have been through? Yes or no? Is there healing?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I would not be in this profession if it didn't mean that something good could come out of the other side of it. My goodness, the brain is just like a computer, right? And when we have experiences, or when we read things, or when we collect information around us, it's like coding, right? Like you're coding your brain and you're telling your brain, this is what it is. And your brain is taking that information in and it's saying, okay, here's what I'm going to push out, right? Based on this coding. Trauma work, in essence, is recoding. It is our opportunity to reprogram the brain, help your brain realize that it's okay to walk through that door. It's okay to go here. Because up until then, your brain is like, no, we're not. We're not doing that. We're not going there. We're not dating that person. We're not going here. And in your brain trying to protect you, it hinders you. and it keeps you from actually reaching your optimal levels. So the work that we do, absolutely, the interventions that's been studied and researched and we've been trained in, these things help us to reprogram or write new code, right? For all my techies out there, to help the brain move in a different direction and give us something different on the output.
Oh, I love that. Give us something different on the output. And CEATT is a community where you can come and get recoded and give yourself something different on the output. We are on our last seconds, ladies. We have been talking. You know, we could talk about this forever.
This is so good.
Yes, it is so good. And we love this conversation. We love that we are able to reach our community and talk about healing. I am Belinda Gordon Battle, here today with Delphine Jervis and Magda Demerit, and also missing in action, but still very much a part of our community.
Yes,
it's Gabby.
Gabrielle Carey Johnson.
Gabrielle. Dr. Gabrielle Carey
Johnson.
Hello, somebody. Hello.
Doctor. And so you will meet her at another time, but we will continue to be CEATT Incorporated, the Center for Equitable Access and Treatment of Trauma Incorporated. We will continue to have CEATT Cares and reach out to our community. But for today, continue to heal, continue to reach out, continue to know that we are a resource for you. Thank you so much. Thank you also to Gordon Concierge Services for sharing her platform with us. We appreciate you. Look forward to working with you again in the future.
Yes. Yes.
Take care.
Take care.
Take good care. Bye-bye.